I mean, the notion that we're all separate is total fabrication.
It's not real.
It's not real.
Why are we comfortable with lies? I have a theory. It's because we've all been like gaslit, and we all have Stockholm syndrome from years of abuse from our parents, our homes. Like, I mean, there are so many personal things that are allowed to go on in our homes growing up and in our lives, and we develop just really poor coping mechanisms, and our response to abuse is strong.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business. Complicated.
I mean, I remember just being in a surreal state for a couple days of like, almost like finding out that like vampires are real or something like that, or just like, you know, like, yeah, being in a state of like some mythical thing has suddenly presented itself, and you're like having to digest like, oh my god, that is actually the case. I mean, I guess I still wake up this way every day, where it's a little bit like, wow, here we still are, and every day it unfolds in like a new and more horrible way. So thank God he's limited to 2 terms by the Constitution, provided we even have a damn Constitution in 8 years. But I mean, I think he thinks he's incredibly clever, but this is a person who's like never had a job. He's never worked for anyone else. He's only ever been the boss of his own empire.
I've seen a highway recently in a certain state. I won't mention its name. It's 17 years. I could have built it for $4 or $5 million without the permitting process.
And this whole notion that America should be run, or any country should be run like a business, like, it's not a business. Like, you can't fire anyone. Everyone works here. Like, no one can go away. There's no outside of the business. Like,
Right.
But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly.
why we're in that denial, I have no idea. I mean, I think we also have this mythology of the sort of like bootstraps, like pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Meritocracy.
Like this
Everything's
meritocracy,
possible.
but also like there's a certain sort of like rugged individualism around that, where it's like we're not actually part of this like greater collective body, and that somehow we're actually all just individuals striving for I don't know, our own freedom and independence or whatever. But like,
I noticed that Stonewall Jackson's coming down. I wonder, is it George Washington next week, and is it Thomas Jefferson the week after? You know, you really do have to ask yourself, where does it stop?
the alternative to him not being there, like Mike Pence, like, does anyone want Mike Pence to then be in charge? Like,
well, there's been shameless rhetoric about my state and about this law and about its intention all over the internet. People are trying to make it about one particular issue, and now you're doing that as well.
this is horrifying. And if Mike Pence goes away, do we want Paul Ryan to be in charge? Like, it's like nothing but vipers from the top down. Like,
There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, or you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is.
I mean, we do like abusive people. Most of television culture is stories about abusive people.
Yeah, and then we
Because-
build up celebrities so we can tear them down. Like, we're always the master and we are always the slave. So
there's also like, there's no story without this sort of the necessity of the abusive villain. Like, no one wants to follow the story. It was like, well, they all got along and everything was fine.
why?
Because there's no drama.